Hey, oh, let me make sure. Hail, Frog G! We got Frog G already in the cat in the chat. Wow, we're rock and rolling, hopping and popping, folks. Hi, folks. I'm Nick Tucker. Welcome to the Historical Fencing Guild. Let's get the show on the road. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe. Both of these are available through Amazon at www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tucker. That's me, the easiest and fastest way to learn how to sword fight. We are made possible by our amazing Patreon patrons. The link is in the description every time, all the time. Their names are in the description. I love these people, and a bunch of them, as usual, are showing up in chat. Now, and you'll notice I'm tugging. I haven't worn the shirt in a long time. It's down a size. I'm feeling pretty good. Brothers and sisters, viewers of all kinds. Oh, okay, cool. The weather is a little dodgy going on, but it's so nice to be broadcasting. It's not on my usual Wednesday night due to a death in the family of one of my co-hosts on Dice Dudes and Dames. I don't tell other people's business other than send them all some prayers and love, and let's get going on. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to actually have to, on my secondary screen, bring up a link. How simple is the simple sword, Johnny? I will tell you how simple it is. It is so simple. The diagrams are in modified stick figure, so anyone can pick it up and easily learn it. And we've got the amazing Johnny Cage, my favorite vampire. Well, one of them. Let's see. I have to go somewhere to bring up, make sure I'm pronouncing the name right. Bam. And I can get going on that. Like I said, we have a lot of news. We're going to talk a bit of prop safety because that is definitely in the news right now. We're going to talk about some materials that came in for building things. We could talk a little bit about that in the very near future. As soon as I'm done with the move I'm dealing with, I will set up and I will do some leather crafting. I'm very excited to get back working with a hammer and ooh, okay, we're gonna have to do it this way. That's fine. Uh, but while I wait for that to load up, and before we go, we got some news. First off, we'll do some product news. Purple Heart Armory, our dear friends, have a new gauntlet in the works. And let me see if I could find you a link. It isn't the link with my call sign, so you'll have to go in through that. But bam. Let me see if it's in their regular stuff. I just heard about it. They have new lobster gauntlets, which for the folks who don't know, a lobster gauntlet gives you this split. It's sort of a hybrid between. Yeah, I'm freezing up, folks. We've got a big storm front running in. I'm going to do the best I can with this broadcast. I am, like I said, I am sorry. This is one of those where we're fighting the good fight, and I'm not going to give up even if I'm coming across a bit Grady, because you guys wouldn't stand for it. So we're going to keep going. And please tell me how your week's. Oh, hey, thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot going on. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to share it because we need to fight the YouTube algorithm. And only you have the power to help me keep doing this. So, whoop. Ooh, there's some new swords in and I can't talk about. But when you look, a clamshell gauntlet, traditionally, it wraps fully around. Hey, it happens. We'll make it work the best we can, folks. And gives very good hand protection. Now, a lot of people lust after the fingered gauntlet, where each finger is individually because that gives you a lot more dexterity. And let's be honest, they're just sexy. The problem is that comes at a cost of very specific safety, because from an engineering standpoint, and all my clamshells are not in here. A clamshell arcs over and it distributes the force. It gives you a solid, strong arch. Arches are very strong for downward force. That's why they work. If they're extended right, they extend the force into the hilt. So it directs it into the sword itself and not into your little flanges. We like these guys. I like these guys. Now you will note I'm only wearing one of my braces. This is one of my backups. I had a minor debacle, meaning I had to wash my braces. Now, fingered gauntlets like the Pro Gaunt are beautiful, but they leave vulnerability, especially for great sword fighters, which I brought something out from the way back files that I had to retire for a humorous purpose. But I can swing this without hurting anybody, and even YouTube can't get too cranky. If I'm holding an open guarded item like this, and I take a grazing shot to the end of the pinky. Now, you don't think that would happen a lot. I will tell you, that happens all the time. Even the dome ones are great against force here. But if it catches your pinky, that force goes here. Now, this is as far as my pinky will safely flex, and it will only bend that far. If you hit it with a sword or a baseball bat, which is what many training tools are basically, that will rend that knuckle. That is bad juju, folks, and I don't like that. So, whoops, hit the background. You don't want that. You want a full cut, but some people want a little more control, especially for doing things like finger snaps. Now, doing a grip snap like this is harder to do in a clamshell gauntlet. Okay? But if you have a split finger, you can rapidly tighten. I'm going to do it on my good hand. Well, relative. Oh, God. Feeling it today, folks. The things I do for you here gives you that added pop to your hit. Now, I'm going to talk about why I'm holding, of all things, an old school Nerf greatsword here, or a longsword. This is a good size for me, actually. I quite like it. Totally crap for thrusting. Don't ever use these for thrusting. And this one, my son, when he was very young, bit. Thus, I retired it from standard combat. I probably could glue and reinforce that, but it is what it is. However, we're going to get into why I pulled this thing out of storage a little later. It's all in the wrist. Well, and you want good wrist protection. Where you're fighting when you fight with a long weapon. Okay, let me pull this down a little bit. We'll get a bit of belly cam action here. Is right where my bracers hit. The forearms get downward chopped all the time. That is the easiest place to target. Wow, y'all behave. This is semi-educational, and while it's not geared toward children, I try to keep it a little civil. Now, we want to think in that, okay? Now, these hybrids look really good, but they're still around that $250 mark, which, believe it or not, is fairly moderate for non-budget gauntlets. I am a dad, so I'm used to that. Johnny, are you saying? Well, I don't know if I'm the one who turned you. That's okay, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to be that grumpy. Nice to see whoever's joining us. So it's a good thing to look at, especially if you're going to do this a lot. You're going to find that you buy budget gear and you upgrade what doesn't work, what wears out, or doesn't work as well as you like. And that's very important. So what we want to do is always keep in mind what's wrong with our gear. Hey, thank you, Feline. You are an amazing individual, and I appreciate you stopping by. Now, guys, when you're talking that, because clamshells aren't sexy, I admit it, they just aren't, but they're so protective. Now, me, and being that I am civilian weapon oriented, and yes, my focus, I prefer civilian arms of defense. That's why I like rapiers. Things that are worn with clothing not necessarily full plate mail, because that's just not my shtick. In fact, my study into other arts all kind of revolve around the EDC of any given period. What are people likely to actually carry? Because combat from a military standpoint is a very different, usually much more uniform, although officers in say Great Britain for long periods of time were permitted and encouraged to buy their own commissions. That means their swords, and they would carry ones they like. So one of the reasons why the much maligned spadroon became so popular, because it allowed people who uh, enlisted men who came through the ranks learned saber. Saber is a very concussive, very angular style. It real saber, and I'm not talking modern fencing saber, because modern fencing saber, like you see in the Olympics, has devolved, in my opinion, so much by the whippiness of the blade that it does not any longer mirror the actual intent of the sport, and has turned it into essentially a flail weapon. It's much closer to fighting with a stiff whip than it is fighting with an edged weapon. And there's talk of bringing heavy saber back, and I think that is something that really needs to be evaluated if they're going to claim to have a historical tie. But the spadroon is essentially a heavy small sword, or and that's what aristocrats learn defense with foils or epes to an extent. More foils. Foils have been around a long time. Oh, I understand, Foxy. You take care of yourself and each other, and you just be gentle. I'm never going to grate people for having to pop out or pop in. But when you look at this, this has hand protection, because I am wearing leather. I would be wearing leather gloves under it. It allows lots of dexterity because it's protected. Now, if I'm running a minimalist guard, especially early period rapiers, I'm either going to have to pair that with a buckler and use the buckler as a secondary guard. That's a pleasant aesthetic, Foxy. Anyway, uh, so that would early early period fencing looks a lot more. You see this guy a lot happening, where they're squared off and the buckler is actually protecting the hands. Let me see. The neat thing. Aw, that's adorable, Johnny. I like that. That's cool. Uh, the neat thing about that is that it gives that production and it closes the middle road. We talk a lot about the middle road. Well, I'm glad. I find dogs to be great judges of character and content. A lot of dogs like kaiju movies, so they can't be bad. So you watch that. Now, what happened is you just take this buckler, add this sword, and you get something essentially like this, where the buckler is integrated to the end of the sword. That's multitasking, folks, and I think it's beautiful. Now, some people get real quizzical about that, especially in groups where the period historically doesn't line up with the peak of that style. What I mean is the SCA usually runs from like 500 or 400 to 1500 and they've stretched it to about 1650 to squeak rapiers in, when the peak fencing period of classical rapier is about 100 years later. Oh, they're running jokes thesis about Perry this antenna boy. But I've actually seen extendable portable gin for the purpose of being able to take them places and drill later and then store them nicely. So it, as silly as it sounds, it's a concept that's been I'm not gonna put this far, because anytime I do, I then instantly need one of the big three. So I have to keep the big three handy at just about all times. It's how you fight with a guard is very different than how guard. And I think that's what annoys me so much about Jedi. They leave their wrists way open. They fight overextended and over out for the weapon that they have. I am baffled to this day that the Jedi did not make saber hilts out of Beskar for their lightsabers. This blows my mind. And that was totally off topic, but I regret absolutely nothing. You see, no regrets. I will drop a hot take like the Jedi were too foundered in the I have to look like a cool, sexless space wizard to make sword, with the exception of my boy Dooku, because the grip on his sword matched the grip of modern King Charlemagne's sword, which Dooku was a direct descendant of. So, at least the actor who played him. So it makes sense. And I know it's a space fantasy. Why are we taking it apart? You sound like a pasty geek in a basement. I'm not saying I don't know what I'm about, folks. But that is okie dokie. That is okie KB. Coffee for folks who are wondering. People like to know, I get questions about what my given beverage is. I don't drink alcohol, so it's always caffeinated. Unless for some reason it can't be, at which point I lament and I get by. But I really recommend looking into that. I've looked at a couple companies that are of late. Whoops, that let's see if that doesn't help things. There might be an update running in the background. And I am going to close. Oh, I have a message. Who's contacting me offline? Oh, skunk. Okay, we're going to close that, and I will look at that later. I drink a lot of water, but I get headaches without caffeine. Yes, it's an addiction. I also have trouble focusing. I find a mild to moderate stimulant uh, helps, which might be a form of diagnosis in and of itself. But I really can't, I can't sit and write and focus for anything without a little bit of caffeine in my system. Now, sliding scale on what I'm doing, and I've tried to moderate it. Coffee of various strengths seems to be like the gold standard. A little mellower is a lot of teas, although I do like some high caffeinated teas. But then, as the night goes on, it depends. If I'm drinking coffee to work, it may be more potent. But I'm also of the school where you have some watered down coffee to just keep the rhythm going. The pot's always there, especially in the wintertime. A lot of now soda can mess me up too. I get a lot of sodium from soda, and some of the sweeteners can cause me problems. Excuse me. But I appreciate, you find what works for you and you do it and don't let people bash. Now, so we know that's out there. Another thing that I was looking up, and let me see if I have got it up now. Oh, don't be that way. The website. Yes. Shop all. Our old friends at Zen Warrior Armory have acquired a new blade type. And herbal teas are great too. And there are a few things as nice as a good peppermint tea around this, around a little post Halloween, very festive. But now I ask, let's try this again. Blades. Can you go there? It is glitching. Oh, that's we have some system errors over here. But oh yes, look up what teas can help. Now, this is one of those where I walk an interesting balance. I have certain stomach issues that coffee also helps with. I'm not going to get too far into it. But certain teas have certain physiological effects. Certain beverages, for example, you have to be very careful with something like grapefruit juice, as it can impair cholesterol meds. But let me get this to go away, and we will close that. Close that. Go here. I'm trying to find the enunciation, or at least the print for it, because I've been eyeballing some. Uh, here we are. Filorelli. I'm seeing them, and I'm seeing them in relatively short lengths, down to 30s, 30, 32, 33. This is, yes, diabetic, uh, and absolutely, thesis. You, me, and Fred Scuttle. But I haven't checked if they're SCA legal yet, so I will have to look to see if they are. I know the Zen Warrior uh, heavy rapier blades are, at least for the Middle Kingdom, but I don't know what's legal for other organizations. So I'm going to be looking into that to see what works and what doesn't. It's something to. I'm always excited about new products. I'm in the market for a couple foils, probably, if I can find the right ones, just so that I can possibly spar without exacerbating my wrists and hands while I do the upcoming physical therapy. Yay. Anyway, so that's a big deal to me. And I'm really pleased to see that rapiers are starting to be made, because for a long, long time it was 36 and 40 were your two lengths of rapier. And then they've gone up to 42 as a standard. I see 43s in like Hanways. Now, John Miner will argue with me on this point. A lot of people are. I still don't like the Hanways as much as I like the Zen Warriors. They are a little heavier and they're a little sturdier. I've seen some of the Zamoranos at the end uh, got a little brittle, a little rigid, and then they bend. So I'm not terribly happy with those anymore, which is tragic because I do love them. But we're going to see which blades work. But the fact that rapiers are being made for smaller people, especially, is better for the people who are coming into this, especially women and men of small height, stature, and those who have other identifiers. I'm old enough that I default to the binary system, but I don't verbally, but I don't necessarily think that way. It's complex. And I am also a big proponent, because if you have 30-inch rapiers, you can practice fencing indoors easier. And I'm a huge fan of making things indoor compatible. Living in a place where the snow. Let's see if that doesn't help. I'm having a glitch with Google Drive constantly trying to get me to re sign into it. But so I think we're settled there. But yeah, I'm looking for, like, I'm still chasing the holy grail of a light synthetic rapier. I've seen some, but last couple I tried to order, the website didn't work and it just didn't want to take my money. So I have to go back and check again for synthetic foils or synthetic fencing sabers. Uh, when I say fencing sabers, I'm talking Olympic great style, not necessarily what we fight. But let's talk. Okay, we have to. I think there's something I want to get into, and I think it's very, very important. So I'm going to check that my messenger is not pulling in anything of value. Oh, yes. New story in the works. I'm sure you guys are bothered by that. Okay, so I'm going to go off that for a while. If you want to talk to me public, or hit me up here so I know to turn on my private messenger, just because it's dogging my internet just a touch. Um, oh, I forgot to turn off a device in the living room. That's why. I don't know if you guys have followed this, but there's a whole thing involving Alec Baldwin accidentally killing somebody with a prop. Now, it's still up in the air. They're talking whether it was an actual round in a firearm or if it was blanks, if it was something to do with the wadding, why it was pointed where it was. There's a lot we don't know. But I am going to say when you're being a prop master, especially for things like weapons, and I will stick to my lane. I will say with guns, this is why we must always be ultra careful. Guns need to be handled with extreme respect. Everything gets in, and whatever happened, if his finger wasn't on the bang button, if his booger hook wasn't on the bang button, nobody would have died. It is your responsibility if you are an actor, if you're participating, if you pick up a firearm or something that looks like a firearm, it is your job to check if it's unloaded. This is a fake gun. This is not real. It is not real. Now, this is cocked, but I also know if there's a round, I can fire it safely in this direction. There is no round. This is a cleared firearm. I have set it down on the table. If I am a prop master, an actor, anybody else, I'm going with a real semi-automatic. You should be able to slightly pull the slide, see if a round's in the chamber. Check if there's a magazine. This is, again, a children's toy. I actually use this in part for teaching gun safety to small children. It's safer that way, okay? Now, that being said, even if I slid this, it's not going to shoot somebody without an option. Exactly, Johnny. They're always loaded. Now, this is very much a toy. It looks like a toy. However, gun makers are making guns that look toy-like again, and I don't like that. I understand I am incredibly pro-Second Amendment, but I'm anti-stupidity. And making guns that look like toys is stupid. Making toys that look like guns can be. And that's situational and knowing what you're talking about. The same. Exactly. And that's just, I understand expression, but you have to be responsible. Okay. And if it offends people, I apologize if it offends you, but that is part of where my safety line lies. Now, I believe everyone should have gun safety courses, especially in America. Everyone should understand how they work, pros and cons, and that would demystify them a lot. But now we're going to get back into my bailiwick. Don't worry, I'm not going to stray too far. Swords. Why did I talk about prop mastery on a sword program? Well, first off, because it's important and our worlds overlap. Secondly, there are 3 types of sword, basically, that can show up in a production. There, you might have a couple variants, but there are 3 basic types, and I'm going to show you reasonable versions of them because I have them. You might have something like this. This is a live steel sword. This is not a high-cost live steel sword. It has sentimental value to me, but I'm not deluded. These edges are sharp enough to hurt somebody. I wouldn't cut test them. There we go. This will cut or kill someone. This is a real sword. This is a real sword. Why would you use a real sword in a movie if you're doing a cut demonstration? That means this sword, which should be peace-tied. Peace-tied, for those of you who don't know, means this sword would be tied off. Now, I would mark it sharp. I might use a red zip tie. I would not use anything anyone could easily remove unintentionally. This is now peace-tied. I can't draw this sword from this scabbard. This is how you have to wear them at Ren fairs, at some SCA events. It's smart because it keeps them from falling out. This is a very loose scabbard, even though it came with it. It keeps people from stealing it. It makes sense. Live steal, like I said, you're doing a scene where it needs to cut into something, and there's no way to gaff the something where something softer can cut into it. You can do a lot with a blunt sword and balsa wood. Now we're going to talk about the next. This is I believe this is yep, this is one of the first Zamorano. This is a 30-inch wide fencing blade. This is fencing blade. This is a rapier blade. Now, if I were to take the tip, this off, it has a unsharpened tip. It is a point. Something like this with careful choreography would be used for most fights. That means you're going to hear metal on metal because fans love that. Sometimes you actually don't want that because you want your sound guy to add it later. That becomes a matter of preference. But this is a steel implement. I can still mess somebody up, notwithstanding the uncovered point with one of these. It still needs absolute respect. But this is going to be what I would consider a hero sword. So if you're making a movie for YouTube or whatever, I would still keep it tipped. Yeah, if you can get some. One thing I would say is get some light green tip color tip for the tip, and then take it off in post. You can do that easily with CGI, and it makes things a lot safer. But this is a hero sword. This is what they would be swinging. Now, in the background, you have one of two types. Well, three. They would use aluminum that would have a basic function like something like this. It can bang together. It's robust, but it's still rigid, so you can still do damage. Or, and a lot of times you have these left over in studio armories or the rental armories where you go, you say, I'm making a movie, I need to rent 30 short swords and 150 Dane axes, etc. So this is one option you can do. You can obviously if I took this and spray painted it chrome, I mean the light would probably catch the mottled finish, but in the background this could, with a little bit of spray paint, could look good. With a little bit of love, could look very good in the background. And then we get to the other thing, which is Plastidip style. Now, this is a Nerf sword, obviously. It is decommissioned because when my son was very young, he started to bite a chunk out of it, and I won't use something. It also, and it has seen wear, has a more rigid tip than I liked. I didn't want to hurt anybody. But this is a very old Plastidip sword. It has a core that I suspect is fiberglass. It might be carbon fiber, but it's probably fiberglass, much like a driveway rod. Closed cell foam that has been cut with a hot wire or molded and then paint coated with something else. This may be a case of they used colored foam. I think they did, and the heat treating gave it this finish. We had to look into it. But then they added paint for the detailing. Now, this looks cheesy. It looks like a toy here. In the back, with 300 of them swinging around, you wouldn't notice. Something like this, or made out of solid rubber even, is great to just hand out to the idiot extras that you tell them you don't have time as a sword master, as a film prop to train them. So it's like, you're going to do this and this, kind of bang, bang. You might get 1, 2, you're going to go 5, 6, 5, 6 in the background. Your job, 5, 6, 7, 8, is to do very simple choreography. And if you're doing a big group fight, you might teach one gaggle of guys, okay, you guys are going to be fighting this. your partners. You fight this. He cleaves, you block. Cut down, repeat. A lot of the drills we would use to teach people the basics get recycled as background combat. It's visual noise to give you that sense of chaos in the scrum. Very rarely do any of the martial artists have, the extras and background guys get any real training. Occasionally you get some people who do. Knowing what to use for what you're doing is important, and keeping detailed track, what's sharp, what's blunt, what's safe, is going to be a vital thing for anyone making film. Now, okay, Nick, the filmmakers know this, the sword masters know this, yes, but the guy watching YouTube learning to sword fight from a guy like me who wants to enter the Star Wars choreography contest or they want to reenact Game of Thrones, they need to know this. Thesis just said Game of Thrones swords in that style are amazing. I almost bought the needle just because. Here's the thing about needle. Needle hurts my soul. Needle hurts my soul in ways I can't describe. Because if you want to know just how short a guy I am, needle is scaled perfect for me. Believe it or not, our friend Needle is, last I checked, a ½ inch. Safety. Look, I forgot the peace tie held it in. Anyway, peace tie your swords, folks. Needle is within ½ inch this exact sword. I love Needle, and I've nearly bought the Plastidip model. I have made Plastidip, but right now my garage is an absolute mess, and I doubt it will be able to be renovated before we have to deal with. Why is this? Oh, that's where the piece I lost is. Anyhow, before I have to not be able to for freezing. You see, when you're making Plastidip gear, and I've done it for my friend Johanna, who actually is a copy editor and author, and I'm trying to get her to publish. So, Hannah, if you're watching this, publish your stuff. If you're not, I'll tell you I told you the folks about it because I plug my friends and I support them. Now, I need some coffee. If you're doing that, use the proper things. Now, the neat thing is, if you go online, there are a lot of retailers. I haven't. Well, there went the buckler. I haven't checked them for quality because it's the whole. I could throw money at moderate level boffers, or I could throw money at trainers I'm likely to use. I don't have a lot, and when I throw guild money at it, because that's the money I have to do, is when I buy something, when you see me buy a sword, a trainer, what we'll discuss a little later, it's with money I've gotten from either selling my books or through my beloved Patreon folks, and I ask them, are you guys cool with the expenditure? Because yeah, it's mine. I could keep it and blow it on 0 bars and a good time. But and a good time for me is usually miniatures or shenanigans. But if I try to be open and responsible, and we're going to talk about these because we're going to talk about what these are. We're going to hint on these, although I have to do a whole video on these. And I make sure it works. So I'm kind of balancing. So if you guys want me to look into something like that, let me know. I might pick up a couple LARP ones. There is a concern. Many of them are made with molded latex. Why does that matter? In my case, that matters because my wife has an allergy to latex. So she can't hold LARP weapons that are latex based without her hands blistering up. So I don't tend to go that route very often. But for something like needle, I might just be able to put it up in my study. Now, if they ever put needle with a nice Bilbao hilt, I'd have to buy it. I'd have no choice. I mean, make 30 of these in fencing blades, preferably poly. I would love to get it like the gin I get from Wu Jiao. You know, I would love a flexible plastic blade on one of these with a nice rigid cup hilt like this and the grip. I would. Sometimes you just have to put your will and your request to the universe, and when the universe is ready, it hooks you up. Have faith, folks. I have a whole lot of it. I don't deserve it, but boy, am I blessed. Now, so yes, needle and needle. Needle, Foxy, are you listening? You can find the LARP needles for in some cases $35. You want to shop around because it's exactly the same product. It's just uh different prices, and I will gladly dig through like Amazon and a few other retailers to try to find it cheaper and put it up on the Facebook group for you. That would be one of the best swords for Foxy to train or learn with. Or while I'm on the topic and she isn't here, the amazing, incomparable Cindy Kep. If you are of someone of a light build, needing a light training sword, something that will move well, the needle paradigm is perfect for you. And I have not read Game of Thrones. I do not know much about that universe because I didn't have access to the things, and I have one TV I watch things with my son on. So Game of Thrones. But I have watched all the water dance related videos with Sergio Bob Rossi and Swordmaster. And I've watched several things with I lost Maisie Williams, Arya's fighting and her training in montages because friends have sent me those links. And the mentality of I want a weapon that fits the styles I know, that is fit to my body, and does what I need to do for the terrain I'm fighting it in. Oh, it makes my heart big, and it makes me happy. So happy. It's so delightful. Common sense isn't common, but when I see it, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Anyway, sorry, I was having a moment there. Now, we are going to get into now, and before I go any further, we're through the first 45 minutes. This has been a fast show. If you have questions, comments, anything comes up, don't hesitate to ask. I've had some people, well, I didn't want to interrupt you on your show, but I had a sword related question. Interrupt me. Throw up good stuff. I can respond. We have this dialogue. It works. And it did it again. Let's see. Did I lose any? It cut me off. Okay, I didn't lose. But yes, I love a lot of the Game of Thrones swords. I would love. There are things I would love to see. Totally off topic, but Castlevania, at least the first two seasons, which I've seen. I own the third. I haven't seen the fourth. I'll watch the third soon. Well, eventually. It's all waiting for Xander to go sleep. See, and that's a great price. That is a reasonable price, especially if you have Prime. Quibbling over $2 or $3 to find it from a possibly dodgy retailer. Thesis Christmas is coming up. If you haven't got something planned for her, get it for her. If you want to get it for her now, get it for her now. Happy. Women with swords are happy women. My wife wouldn't like it because that's way too light and froofy for her. But that's okay. I understand her. That's why I get her pole arms. But yes. There's just something about a woman who can kick my butt. Anyhow, don't be afraid to scale your weapons. Now, my train of thought went right out the window with that one, guys. I apologize. I would love to see more of the weapons of something like Soul Calibur. I would love to see some expansion on the Soul Calibur line. We are really heart achingly due for a good Zorro movie. I would love. Now, this is not bashing Antonio. Antonio Banderas' Zorros. Chef's everything I could want in a Zorro movie. There is swashbuckling. There's Catherine Zeta-Jones. Anthony Hopkins is Zorro. That's my Zorro. But, I would love a quality Zorro movie because it would bring more light on a specific kind of fencing, and they might have a certain colonial infantry weapon highlighted in the background at least. I am such a slut for Spanish swords. Anyway, I'm gonna get in trouble. Nick, don't say that. You're trying to keep the standards high. But I want to see that. We're hitting the big 50-year for Dungeons and Dragons. More content with Drizzt. This means we could get some really great mock-up swords. A couple of the Ice Twinkle and Icingdale swords, the Icing Death swords, are elegant, but they turned them from scimitars to almost falchions. They don't feel. Hey, you have a good day, Frog G. We love you. If there's anything you need from me on this channel that's related, you hit me up, or on the other channel. Good stuff is coming for you and Johnny, because I'm going to want to take my friends' minds off stuff next week if we're gaming. And I I can do it. So good luck. Sword Cane Trainer is going under the tree for her. Don't worry, she already knows about it. Wonderful. That means in the meantime, you can get her needle to drill with. I'm terrible. But I'm very good at helping people spend their money, and I try to help you spend your money on good things. Now, there are a couple aspects. I'm running a little fast this week. I lost some of the shenaniganators by not taking stuff, so that's okay. We want to talk about some stuff, and we got 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Let's rock this. When you're armoring, you will need things, and I'm going to do a whole video later on leather weights and leather types and resources for leather. But I want to highlight these guys, because these two here are basically the dichotomy of leather fasteners, and they're really important. If you want it to not move, this is in the house of duct tape, fix-all, and superglue. These are copper rivets and burrs. Now, we will talk about these guys in a minute. These are awesome. I'll do a full video on these when I can find my mini anvil. See, and that's a good start. It's a good start. They need to do more product placement of the weapons that they use in film. These. What is these? These. And I will put the links for that I spent on these guys. I got them both from Amazon. Really cheap. These are called Chicago screws. I believe the proper name is threaded posts. These are invaluable for when you want to do something that you move or you adjust. So, what these are, and they come in various lengths and gauges, but this is threaded. Let me see if I can get it where you can see the threading. Can you see the threading? Maybe. come on, camera. Anyway. And these are a little shorter than I like, but they'll work. What these guys do is they just thread together in a fixed width. Meaning, if I can get these guys to thread, which I'm having a bad hand day and I'm down one of my braces while the others get washed, it can hold stacks of leather together, or leather and metal, for when you want to be able to adjust them or take them off, or you want added hinging. You want it to be able to spin more. And the thickness of the post, so I grabbed the long one in the set. They have 3 lengths. Correlates with the length, and I will cap one of each of the thickness of the materials you want to bind together. This is wonderful. So let's say you want to sandwich you want to articulate and sandwich a piece of metal to some leather strapping. You can put these guys in and you don't have to rivet it. If you fall in love with it and you don't want to rivet it, you can always put some thread lock, some Loctite on the threads, and it won't go anywhere. These are wonderful. And as somebody who's done in the past a lot of armoring, you can't have too many. What I like about this particular set is it came in this nice organized little box instead of lots of bags. Oh, you don't go there. Did you hop? You go there. I think I have 4 lengths in here. And I got these Chicago, and they call them Chicago screws. Got these guys on Amazon. I can look up how much they were. Actually, I will. I will bring that up in just a second. Because I need to show you these guys. And I will get into that and do it for. Oh, now it's saying I have no internet. If I get staticky, I'm trying to get information. But try again. Thank you, me. And what I'll do is I'll bring up the price. I meant to, but I got distracted, and you guys understand. Hello, me. Yes, now log your orders. Let's see what we got coming. I want to see. Okay. I believe these came in at and I will share these later. How much did these? Yeah, $10. $10. Okay. I'm gonna do so many leather projects with these. It's not even funny. It was $10.99, $10.97 in 4 sizes, and they're numbered. It's convoluted, but that's okay. And I got these are in the red copper. It's sexy. Copper doesn't corrode. Now, the other thing I got, and this is a neat set because it shows them nicely organized, and they're not in the set. But $20 for the rivets, but it comes with a setter. Now, this is a wonderful and important device that makes life so much easier than the way I used to do it, which used an old spacer, and it gave mixed results. 2 punches in the right gauge for the rivets. And number 4 by 14.5. Okay. These guys are in metric, I think, but let me look at this. Are these number 4s? No, these are number 9 and number 12. Great diameters for rivets. I'm going to just open this up. Now, rivet is a really neat thing. You'll see different types, and I'll get more into that later. Let me get one of these big guys out here. Did they package? They package the burr with them. That's good. Oh, almost broke the rule. Will you go where you're supposed to go? Thank you. Yes, the sign says I'm diabetic. Why are you advertising that? Because if I get sick and a ER dude, EMT has to talk to me, I might not be able to talk. So they know, oh, better give that dude some blood sugar. Anyhow, now, this is a burr. This will go right on the end of that. And you'll notice it only fits nicely like that. But we take this big honking metal thing, put a hole, the right corresponding size in the leather. You take this big honking nice metal thing. Oh, and this makes it pretty, folks. That's what I love about it. I've had to do the peening the hard way for years. There are tools you lust after in your youth. This is one of them. They used to be ridiculously expensive. You see, it has these holes. Now, I'm going to pull the burr so it doesn't goof up. But you'll see, barely slides down nicely. Okay, so let me double check that there isn't. Yes. You set this on top of the ring. You beat the P mortal stuffings of it down okay, rewind. Leather gets stacked. You punch a hole in the leather. This goes up through the hole. This flat part sits on your anvil, which my mini anvil isn't here. I have a little hammer that I could use, but this gets set. This goes right on top of it like so. You hammer the P mortal stuffings out of it. Then you take clippers and you cut the excess so that there's a little bit of metal. Then on top, so on the piece of metal that's sticking up past the burr, you grab the corresponding little dinger, put the dinger on there, beat the P mortal stuffings of it down, and you get a nice round peened rivet. Peening is the art of taking the metal shaft and mushrooming it out to permanently hold the burr in place, bonding things like leather together. If you're going to do something with metal, you usually want leather on little leather strips between them and on the outsides. Not always, but it really helps. Having the right tools makes it easier. Now, most of my tools were lost in the flood, so I have to work around that. And that, friends, is okay. Because of your kind generosity, I can get the parts. So now I cut the leather out using some patterns. I can peen together and I can make nice little leather armor pieces of varying degrees of difficulty. Now, I will have to set up a leather sewing set where you used wax string and spacers, and there's some other tricks we can talk about. I'll space that out till I get next month's pay because I do tend to space these out. But with a system like this, I can now, with what I have here, a ball peen hammer and my anvil. Oh, and a punch. Well, actually, I have the punches here. Although I like my rotary punch better, I can actually make a gorget out of the scraps of leather, which hopefully, after I get done moving my stuff out of the storage unit and can clean up my workplace, I'll be able to record for you guys to see how it's done. I also plan to get an eyelet setter and make another set of bracers. I have a very specific bracer design in mind. I would love to make something that works like this that is a little more aesthetic and then upgrade it because I do love the adventuring mindset. If that's stuff you guys are interested, please let me know in the comments or don't hesitate to let me know when you see it. So this is the winter of crafting is coming. And I'm very honored to thank my Patreon members. And just, you guys are why I can afford to do this. Okay? I could not do this without you. I just couldn't. I couldn't afford the gear. We are way too tight with me not being able to work conventionally while I take care of my special needs son. So to have a hobby like this, where I'm helping people to chase my dreams of writing books and making things better with the incredible aid of my wife, we've been together 20 years, and 21 years, and we've been married 19. Very soon, very soon. At which point I will have to celebrate. But you don't find a woman like that every day. So I am truly blessed to have someone like that in my life, and I'm blessed to have uh, amazing Patreon members who've been able to help me build up so that I can build the gear to help you guys know how. We're joined by Cindy Kep, who's been in lurker mode. Hi, Cindy. Soon I will lurker mode disengage. Soon I will be able to get away from the tablet earlier, but I've been lurking. I appreciate that. Anyone with practice sewing vinyl? Um, I've done a little bit. I can ask my wife. I think she's sewn some. Are you doing? Uh, we can see. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But and while she's writing that up, I want to remind you the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by me holding my books wrong. The Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, both available through Amazon at www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Stockert for the easiest way to learn to sword fight. Nothing wrong with repairing t-shirts, folks. And a shout out to Frog G, who had to leave anyway, for making me this beautiful dice box. I honestly can't remember if I showed you, but these are my official Dice Dames and Dudes, and they glow in the dark dice. And I wanted to thank him on here, and I forgot. So I'll do it again later. I'm very thankful to you guys because I'm very blessed. And I have my thing. You guys make me feel like the king of the world, and there aren't words to describe it. So, Johnny, you're my hero, man. You're awesome. You are awesome. But sorry. We will see if I can get the garage and stuff cleaned out in time for freeze not to hit. I will be able to demonstrate some basic boffer making from extremely basic to high. Oh, I'm making. Hmm. I be, I believe there's a trick like that. There's something about vinyl. And if I shout for my wife to get the answer to that, I wonder if I can phone a friend here. I'm gonna yeah, that's what I want to check. So I'm gonna see if her no, because her messaging is off. I'll see if she picks it up and I can get a hold of her. Um, you know what? Hold on. Hey, babe. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm going to call. I am actually calling a higher authority on the subject. Hi, I got a question. Cindy Kep wants to know about sewing vinyl. She says, let me read it. She's making dragons. Michaela chose some Snaztastic vinyls. It looks fabulous when it's done. The thread tends to pull through the vinyl if I don't do it right. So I was wondering if I can hot glue the pieces together first. Okay, she says, in case you didn't hear her, because she doesn't want to interrupt and she's awesome like that, that she thinks you can, but she's actually put tape down to keep the thread on the fabric. So that might. What she recommends is play with a couple pieces of scrap, and the glue would probably work. Thank you, babe. I'm sorry, I just needed an authority. Anyhow, so that yeah, you're right, folks. I brought in the big guns. But if I need to know about if I need to know about the sewing stuff, I'll ask somebody who knows. She's also very good at line combat, pole alarms, and all things feast cooking. My week actually has been very busy. We are trying to clean out a storage unit, and that's got a couple of years worth of stuff, and we want to get it down before the freeze makes it too impossible, and that means rearranging our house plus some other stuff. But it also means I'm getting access to things that make sense. I'm getting access to things I didn't have before that are going, like this sword, are going to show up in videos, and as find my tools and stuff, I can do more of what I used to, and I'm very excited because I want to provide you guys as much content and as much quality, as much edutainment as my furry self can. And yes, I am not wearing Hawaiian today. It is laundry day, and I didn't think I could get into this shirt, and I still, well, my neck hates most shirts. But it's a size smaller, so go me, chunky monkey, less chunky. Um, we have been talking about different swords, different trainers, things like that. Uh, so there's a lot of excitement. What do you guys have questions about? Thank you, Cindy. Um, I will be doing a lot more when I get the rest of my pieces of my leatherwork kit, and hopefully I can set it up. Yeah, if my I have there's a company called George, and they make expandable, like the elasticized neck buttons. They are saviors, or else I look very macho all the time, and it's not like bravado. It's please let me not blood choke myself to death. But so yes, thank you. We will be see. I have a lot of crafts. I have a lot of writing coming up. November is the time I usually try to clean up and finish a bunch of the stories and things I've worked on from earlier in the year. I'm a pantser, which means I write as the story takes me. So, yeah, I hope you guys get feeling better. But there's good stuff always coming, and I always want to stay one beat ahead, creating more. And sometimes that means running my feet in the water. But I really want to get into the uh, Arms and Armor book, but I want to write it differently. I don't like the way my notes are coming together, so I have to go back over it. And you know what? That's okay, because one, I still fight imposter syndrome. I've been teaching people to sword fight longer than some of my students have been alive, and I still go, "Do I know what I'm talking about?" I have times where I say I don't know, but you know what? What I do know, I know, and the fact that I can amount it. Exactly. That's I call it. Sometimes you need to call in the wife. I have an later. I'll show. Please send me your arty stuff. You know how to get a hold of me. And to those of you who don't, yes, you can follow me on Facebook, but really, please don't. I have a lot of relatives. I would far rather you either join the public Facebook Historical Fencing Guild where you get what you need, or you follow me on Twitter. That's like the best way. Ooh, you have a really cool story about a rapier instructor. Is that shareable, or uh is that something that's in the writing that's coming? Because I love your work, Cindy. And Cindy Kep, if you don't know, is the Grand Mistress. Oh, that's right. Duh. Derp, derp, derp. I would never hand you a plug. Uh put the link in, and I will see if I can get it to approve right. I'm not running through StreamYard right now. I'm running through YouTube Studio, so it should be okay. I think StreamYard's going to be on my New Year's resolutions kind of thing of stuff I'm working on. But what I want is more interest in fencing. And that is one of the titles that can generate interest. Maybe we'll see some good fencing in the new Sherlock Holmes. There's always a chance. I love the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, and the fact that now that he's wrapped up his stint as Iron Man, he can come back to it. I have always been more excited about those than Marvel's The Avengers because, frankly, I had Sherlock first. And there are certain heroes I will always be drawn to. And if you've read the books, our boy Sherlock has never been afraid to brawl. I'm sorry about the update. There is a lot going on, depending on where PHA is ordering their plastics. This shipping thing is a big burden, and I know they're really ramping up their mainline stuff to get new stuff up and get built up for the Christmas season. So I don't know. I'll check on them and see what I can find out later. But don't be afraid. Yeah. Well, shipping is expensive. bit.ly/CKOEPP Amazon. So please look up Cindy Kep. She's an amazing author. And yes, she is one of my Patreon members. She is why it says my Patreon people are why. Oh, yeah. Well, that's true too, because it's individual shipping through PHA. The shipping is rough. If you're looking for another company, and I'm no kickbacks here, there's an Etsy shop called Vulpes Training, and they're the ones who made my axe. And I'm kind of interested in what they do. So they made, hold on, this, that if it ever quits raining outside, I will be happy to give a nice demo. We've just, again, I've spent 16, 18 hours in a car, going back and forth. Yes, he made the Dane axe, Vulpes Training on Etsy, and I absolutely love this. This was a gift from Patreon member and corporate supporter Steve Clausen. This is one of the happiest things I've ever held as a trainer. It makes things. Okay, Thesis says, speaking of shameless plugs, I've been painfully bored lately and would love to have some guildies come play 9 Dragons with me. Playing with a group is much more than fun than playing alone. I actually don't know what 9 Dragons is. I believe it's a Chinese MMO, Chinese theme. But you know what? Get on the oh, yes, Cindy, I'm pretty sure it does. Not many video games don't. That's actually part of why, if I ever do a big Stompy Robots video game, which is on my bucket list, I want to do at least one version where it's all black and white and it doesn't flash, at least fast, because oh, cool. I was an epileptic as a child, and my family still gets too many video games of any sort can be too much if I haven't had enough sleep. So I approve that. And see, I'd like to see that more in games, guys. One thing you have to realize is we are creators, we are authors, we are engineers, we are people who make things happen. If we see a change, and I run with a lot of people online, okay? I run with a lot of people online, and I may differ with them politically or agree with them politically or socially, but I support the people who go, I don't like what's being made, or it doesn't suit me. So I'm going to make something of my own. I'm going to make what I want. That's part of why I made Big Stompy Robots. This is why I make game systems. This is why I partnered with Luke Stone to do hybrids. And Luke Stone is out of ICU. I don't know when he'll be able to rejoin me on the project, but that project will wait for him. I'm going to do some other things because, I have to keep the lights on. But that project will wait for him because I believe in him and I believe in the project. And if it turns out otherwise, then I will respect him throughout the rest. But that's how we do stuff. That's one thing, guys. Even without epileptic problems, in a lot of video games, I have to stop. It's like I used to love Diablo and any of the ISO over the top adventure RPG games. But I can't play them at high levels because the spell effects, I can't even find myself on the screen. Never could. That's why I like older games. Too much flashing on the screen and it's not even, it's like, can we just turn off or turn down the opacity or something where I can see where my dude is? Because that is a big RPG problem. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind. And there's always tabletop, and they're starting to do more things like the roll d20 where you're moving the minis. I would love to set something like that where we could play Big Stompy Robots with digital miniatures and move it around and have it be very friendly. Okay, Dark Moon Miracle. On a strange side note, during therapy this week, my psychologist told me I may have high functioning autism. Wonderful. That's good to know. No, no, no. A lot of people get upset when they have a diagnosis that might be uh, problematic. A lot of people, when I found out I was formerly diabetic, I was happy because I've been dealing with the issues without anyone telling me I was. I'd passed the test, but I'm like, I have all those problems. Never feel bad about a diagnosis. Okay. Same with mental health. I look forward to the day when we can look at mental health issues the same way we look at physical health issues, and both of them better than we do now. Because having a mental health issue is not a moral failing. And I would love to see that too. And there is no moral failing in seeking assistance. No more than there is for, oh, I broke my arm. I'm going to walk it off. That's insane. And I say this from a period of, I've been that guy. No, I'm fine. If you find a way to get help that fixes things and makes things better for you, please seek it out. Okay? So I approve, I approve, I applaud, and don't be afraid to talk about it. It shouldn't be a stigma. I'm going to respect somebody who can get help and address it. For me, I'm a strange duck. I value intelligence. I value awareness, especially self-awareness. And I'm not talking woke, confusion, how you feel. Knowing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. And then I value the people who put in the time to try to get better. Because what the people who go out, find out what's wrong, and do something about it. That's the difference between healing and victimhood. For example, I have forms of PTSD. I have been through bad stuff. It affects my worldview. But knowing it, I either can go, I'm going to keep tabs on this and realize that's what's going on and deal when I approach a situation. But I'm not going to use it as a crutch to say, oh, I can't. I hate can't. Can't is a 4-letter word. I can't do something this way. This is why we do adjustments. This is why we work around. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much and I'm missing some comments, so I'll go over the comments real quick. Back on the original song. Had a hero battle was famous for our healer who was Foxy. Awesome. So I'm sorry you lost your old players. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong. If you get diagnosed autistic, it's like, hey, now I know what's going on. But understood. COVID is very difficult. Or in any form hard. Cindy Cap says, I'd rather know what's happening with odd health stuff. Not fun to learn of a possible genetic fault causing joint shenanigans, but now I know doesn't fix the problem, but you know what it is and you can plan for it. Real simple. I know I am diabetic, prone to low blood sugars. That's why this is right here when I do a broadcast. I don't go without one of these immediately in reach, immediately in view, right here. If my blood sugar drops, I go, ooh, that's rough. I'm familiar with that whole line. There is some suspicion that several people, myself included, may have some type of uh, joint disorder, like Ehlers-Danlos, or there's a lot of people arguing over what's what, and that's like. I also have peripheral peripheral neuropathy, which means every so often, if I overdo it without my brace on, or even if I overdo it with my brace, I feel like my fingers are being bee stung or set on fire. And that's what happens while I'm talking to you. Hold on. Aha! That's my wrist popping. Anyhow, that's why I don't like this brace as much as my other models. But I had backups and I misplaced them. It's on me. I am responsible for my own failings. And I've done a lot of driving and lifting and schlepping and fixing things. So it makes sense. But moving forward, ever onward, ever forward. The railroad. Ever onward, ever forward. Woo! Sorry. Old Gods of Appalachia fans, that one's for you. Now, yeah, no. It's great when it stops hurting. Yes. Yes, that click. That's why I'll get up when I get up from one of these shows. I sound like wet 2x4s coming together. My knees will be like pop, or my hips will be like pop. And it's part of why I boogie so much. I'm keeping my joints loose. I'm scooting around. Tab A going into slot B is a long-standing set of jokes, Cindy, that you, in my household that have nothing to do with joints popping, but can cause them. But that's okay too. Oh, literally every joint on me fires off with different weather, and every bone break at different types of pressure fires off. And since I've broken most of my finger bones, probably, I know my thumb's been shattered, wrist, ribs, fractures of the femurs. Yeah, I'm like, one little thing I take pride in is the fact that if I died on NCIS, Ducky would have an interesting conversation with me. But odd thing to be proud of, but gosh darn it, I'm proud of it. Now, and that's great. Know it. What does that mean? Okay, if you have joint limitations, stick to lighter weapons. Cindy, I don't know if you were lurking when the topic of needle came up, but they make a boffer version, a plastic version of needle from Game of Thrones. And it is $28.99, but it is incredibly light and scaled for those of us who are horizontally challenged. I am vertically challenged. I'm horizontally gifted. But oh, I'm so sorry. I had my shoulder dislocated by a client, and then I had to put him in a hold for 3 hours, and then after slamming it back in a door frame to keep myself, we'll say, tactically viable. Yeah, shoulder dislocations stink. Tactically viable. Go, Nick, you are such a loon. I mean, it's true, but go. Anyhow, yeah, my old job was incredibly fulfilling and equally dangerous. And there are days I miss it, but I also take care of my son, and there are elements that overlap, so it's cool. Uh, ooh, can you go see somebody about that? I'm sure a doctor can reset it, can't they? Yeah, because that's not good. Get that tied, get some kinetics tape or whatever, get it in a sling, get yourself taken care of, Foxy. And I am not a doctor. I am not. The highest I ever was a DSP where I was Medcore A and B certified, which meant I could read your prescriptions are this and administer your prescriptions per the orders. Yep, I feel you. There's got to be maybe occupational therapy. Please talk to your doctor about that if you can. There, excuse me, I'm so sorry. But that's what we talk about. So if you're going to train, one, I learned to fence with a broken right wrist. That is why I'm ambidextrous. This is why I favor light weapons because my body can't handle the weight. Now I do have individuals who, through applied machismo, give me a lot of crud about what I choose to drill with. And I will tell you something. For example, to give you where my current line is, the Priscilla here, believe it or not, is about as heavy as I'm comfortable swinging. And because of the weight balance and the way this is set up, drilling with this in slow motion can be is almost exactly the line where I can tolerate, which is why I throw the sheath on it and I drill with it sometimes. This is a designated door greeter, which means it is one of the items I like to deal with potential threats with. I hear a bump in the night. This is very liable to be in my hand. So I train with it. You train with what you use. Now we were talking very early in this broadcast about training and prop safety. If I'm going through the drills, I have the sheath on it. That way I don't cut myself or anybody else. It does make it a little heavier, but for me, I can build up to it. You say you also can get out of handcuffs. Boxing, please. If you want me to be able to keep online, don't talk too much about handcuffs. Anyhow, I'm a horrible person sometimes, and I'm trying to be better than I can be. God, I'm terrible. I'm going to get in trouble for that. Exactly. Guns are always loaded, especially the ones you're sure aren't. And if it looks like a toy, it's still a gun. That's why I will be honest, I don't like blank guns in this day and age. Hi, Foxy. Um, with After Effects, with the things that can be done, I don't think there's any justification for using a blank anymore. I'm sorry. It's just not that safe. After we lost Brandon Lee to them, after we've lost other actors and had things go wrong, it's one of the few times I'm going to lean towards CGI. Give them a cap gun, something that has no chance of projectile to minimize damage because it can save lives. And if you're going to do prop guns in a movie, airsoft is a great way to go. Airsoft guns look real. You should check them like real guns, but it gives us it happened again just this week. That's what we're talking about. Oh wait, again? Are you talking about wait, Foxy, are you talking about the accidental shooting with blank guns that Alec Baldwin did? I think Alec Baldwin was a Baldwin. Or are you talking about getting out of handcuffs? I don't think you were in Arizona. to be in handcuffs. But I don't know your life that well, so I don't presume. And I'd rather ask a very dumb question than continue on a expectation of knowledge. Is that my ha ha ha? No, it's not. It's my happy stick. Yay! Oh, yeah, that's the Alec Baldwin thing. That's what we at the very beginning of the show. That's what we were talking about in reference. He actually killed somebody and injured somebody else. I'm actually going to engage that comment thesis about handcuffs. Guys, unless there's a distinct reason for the handcuffs, e.g. theme, please consider leather restraints instead. They're safer. They're not going to bite in as much, and they can hold up as much. Oh, I can't afford them. Go down to the Goodwill, get some wide leather belts, cut them. You can use something, you can either build your own quick release, which I'm a big proponent of. You always want to make sure you can uh, safely quick release. Yeah, exactly. Do leather now. Oh, you can make your own with rudimentary tools. I know that sounds, but because I'm an armorer, I have been commissioned to make other things for people at different points who wanted custom work done. Now, my hands don't like to let me do that level of artistic stuff a lot anymore. And I'm talking about the crafting, not the use. That's a whole nother department. But really, invest in the time, get your own gear. You can get the connectors at a hardware store. You can get either you could go to a place like Tandy's, and Tandy's Leather is the premier leather outfitter. It's the best place. You can get a stripping tool. Not Don't be perverse. This cuts it into strips like belts, or you simply go to Goodwill, get a genuine leather belt, cut the lengths you want. But keep in mind that as fun as it is, you need a quick release carabiner on the chain, or something that, in the case of a medical emergency, the tied individual, the bondee, if you will, can undo it. Now, I'm not being perverse because this is a safety issue, and this is a safety issue in the uh, reality of we are all adults, like, and I am talking leathercraft. I know where the overlaps obviously lie. And if there's one thing I really harp on in all concepts, consent is key. So when you're fighting, you need to consent. You need to talk about calibration, weapons type, and you should never bully anybody. I've had arguments with people. I've had arguments on the show. Use heavier weapons, use longer weapons, use this, use that. Well, I think you should. Or people do things. That's as much consent as anything that happens in the bedroom. And establishing boundaries and communication applies to any organization. It's all about, if you're doing something, please educate yourself, and educate yourself properly. It's real easy. You don't ask a lawyer to change your tires. You don't ask a mechanic to write your laws. Look for somebody who knows what they're talking about and can and address them, and look up the means. We have the interwebs, which I am a proud member to be on. Please, there are quality educational resources out there, everybody. Be safe. And I don't know if it seems like I've overstepped, if I'm not being fun enough on the subject, but I do think as a mature adult, we can talk about things like violence and sex and where they interact safely and maturely. And it needs to be maturely discussed. Okay? We can have fun, we can laugh at jokes. But at the same time, you don't want to hurt each other more. You don't want to damage each other. Might be a better way of putting it, either emotionally or physically. So please be very careful. Well, and I think that's a journey most people go through who experiment in that in the scene, if you will. Yeah, they happen, and I have no judgment. I'm not going to give you flack about that. Um, but you can trust me. There's nothing evil or demonic about me at all. Anyhow, sorry. I hope that didn't blink too much. I forgot that one had a blink setting. But I think that would be beautiful. And I really, Cindy, I've been trying to find a lightweight sword simulating object that you can buy off the shelf that would both really fit your motif and no, but it is good that you can having a trick like that can save your life in other situations. Um that's why I wanted to get into theater and I wasn't permitted to for reasons I won't discuss here. But I love special effects and I love the art of gaffing. How to make a gag. Oh, for example, if you're going to uh duct tape someone for uh you know a movie, if you take the duct tape, lay it down, and run wide masking tape on the underside of it, when you put it over the mouth or you wrap them bind them up for something, and I know this isn't intended for that, but it moves into it very well, it comes off much easier. That's one of the ways they do it in film. Keep this in mind when you're making movies. Safety, safety, safety. When you're practicing things, safety. When you're fooling around, safety. This is why hold. I love the word hold. Hold is great on the battlefield. Hold means everybody stops. Sword tips are either held straight up or usually straight to the ground. That's the one time I don't care if a tip gets dirty. I prefer not, but I understand because it's better. Get them where no one's going to be hurt. You are safe, those around you are safe, and until the hold is let up. I've had students refuse or delay, and I bounced them right off the field for the rest of the night. Like, you're done fighting. If you can't respect a hold, I don't want you here. Exactly. And having a double-edged ability like slipping your joints can be neat, but long term problematic. And I always work toward the long term. So I'd far rather try to keep you from getting in a situation where you needed to escape a joint lock than having you escape a joint lock. I'm running low on coffee, but that's okay too. I have to decide what I'm going to do other than read a whole bunch of Night in the Lonesome October uh, tonight. But we need, and I know some people get surprised, and Nick, you get very matter of it. The things I'll joke about and the things that I get very matter of fact serious about are sometimes, oh yeah, well, it doesn't hurt. And I believe one of the great tragedies of our civilization is the necessary mentality for survival that someone who presents as female must carry. I phrase that very carefully, but because unfortunately there are large numbers of individuals who will treat someone who presents as female as prey. And that that sickens me because it doesn't when I talk about I talk about consent a lot because I see it in ways where it shouldn't. Like, people talk about, consent for sex. That is where people draw the line. If they're unconscious, they can't provide consent. If they're underage, they can't provide consent. That's all well and good. They don't consent to you following them creepily. Uh, that's a consent issue. Uh, Bullying people how they dress or what is a consent issue. Uh, People will presume they'll sit down without asking. They'll take things without asking. They'll tell you you are wrong because I don't like what you're doing. They didn't consent for that. Now, if you want to engage in a conversation and you have a reason, that's fine. But you should never, ever demean somebody for making an adaptation that makes their life easier or better or happier. I wear a lot of Hawaiian shirts. I wear them because they make me happy and they make other people happy. And the world is a dark, scary place. If I were only toning to my own self, I would wear greens and browns and look like Radagast without the bird poop a lot of the time. That is comfort. But I can be happy. But I've walked into normal family restaurants like you're gonna wear that here. Yeah, it's a dad thing. It's one of the privileges of being a dad is that I can wear Hawaiian shirts, and I love that he has an epic collection of Hawaiian shirts. I love Hawaiian shirts. I love bright things. It's ironic, but the reasoning behind why I tend to wear bright colors, and why I actually feel guilt that I'm not wearing one of my Hawaiian shirts right now because it's just laundry day, and with the move I'm behind, is because it's very much similar to why Johnny Cash was the Men in Black. He wears black to remember all the people that are imprisoned. I wear bright things because the world's just too dark. And even this shirt, this is a kind of happy little. This check pattern makes me think of picnics. It makes me think of food. Makes me think of tablecloths. I'm a fat guy. I know it. I didn't get to be a fat guy by not appreciating picnics. You know what I'm saying? And I've had people compliment. That's fun. Fun. Fun is important. Fun is vital. And fun isn't, thank you, Buffalo Plaid, isn't, I would rather be happy and uncool than cool and aloof. There are people who are cool and aloof, and they're sexy. And they can walk in and everything's perfect. Their clothes match their long lines. Everyone stops and goes, oh. Nope. I'm the guy who puppies and kids I've never met walk up to, and people are sad and they'll come tell me stuff and maybe they feel better. If I have sort of a fluffy plushie of a person walking through life, then I can do some good with that. Well, and you know what? That's the thing you should be able to. It is so funny that people quibble about clothing when we are fast approaching essentially transhumanism. We already have the technology, and as social situations change, look at the way people's avatars online look. You have furries, you have people who like fantasy things, you have people who, you could, you're okay. Some people's mental gender doesn't match their physical body, and they can switch that online. The real world, shiny and chrome, and I'm all for that because I want people to feel comfortable. I've had, oh, he's a trans woman. Is he or is she? Now I'm terrible with puns. Oh, with puns. With pronouns. I'm terrible with puns too. Not because out of respect, but because I'm absent-minded. And I ma'am sirs and I sir ma'ams, and I get it mixed up in between, but that's never intended. So I try to fix it. Need a Teddy Nick complete with a watcher. I should. For years I've worn a tweed snap brim hat, but as my light sensitivity has gotten worse, I've had to switch to fedoras and more, I don't know, adventurer hats. Which, Lord, do I hate the meme slash trope about the fat guy who wears the fedora and does sword work. I hate that with a passion because it feels like a mockery of everything I believe. That's okay. But yeah, I should. You have Nick's artwork for an avatar. Thank you. I try to do that, and if people I know need artwork, I try to make it when I can. Now I did do a goofy one for Brian Rodman this week, but mostly it was sarcastic and it was part of an in joke. It wasn't hurting anybody. But that's what we're about. Find who you are and be it, and let other people. Now there are some times where I'll be like, that's pretty close to nudity in public, and I may not like it, but I'm not going to be like, Shun! I'm like, no, that's not my shtick. And I'll keep moving. Or somebody will wear something I find offensive. There are things I find offensive. And, logos with meaning. The fact that I am hesitant to say that I am uncomfortable seeing a swastika on somebody tells us how weird our world's gotten. But things like that, I will mark it, and yes, that will factor into what I think of that person, but I believe you fly the flags you wear, too. That's the responsibility of it. You have the freedom to wear, do whatever you want, and be comfortable, and you should be left to it. And others have the freedom to go, that implies things about you. So there's a balance of responsibility of understanding what you're doing. Well, you know what? People suck. If you're having a Chinese New Year party and you show up in a Chinese dagua and you're doing it respectfully and you're a practitioner of the related arts and such, people can bugger off. They can be wrong. I know I had to go with this because for a while it was the trend to wear cork boots, blue jeans, plaid hat, plaid shirt, and a stocking cap. And it looked like the city was suddenly populated by a bunch of lumberjacks. Oh, you guys make me feel it. And it was confusing to me because I was born on the West Coast. I have associated with lumberjacks. I have dropped trees for a living. I've also been a chimney sweep for all that matters. But to me, they were wearing a uniform they didn't earn. And that did bother me, but I also went, that's my hang up. And I had to decide what I thought about that. And in the end, I decided, well, it's not hurting me. So that's their thing. Maybe it'll blow over, maybe not. Maybe they'll learn how to swing an axe. And if they don't, well, here, friends, let me help. Shameless self-promotion. Hashtag always promote. Love you, Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publication. But yeah, Build-A-Bear Nick. Yes, I love it. Got a t-shirt that has an eagle and the Isaiah verse about rising wings. It looks like, well, and that's the thing. People, this is interesting. Dark Moon Miracle says cultural appropriation isn't real in his mind. If you are doing something because you like or respect it, it's fine. Now, if it's distasteful and malicious, purposely, that's just, it is a fine line to walk. And I really think you need to learn to read your audience. Okay. That's one that's very delicate to touch, and the wrong phrasing can easily get somebody canceled in this culture right now, right or wrong. And that's a minefield that I choose to rarely engage if I can, because it's so easy to accidentally offend. So it's a sliding scale. And like I said, usually it is very easy to tell, but it's also not necessarily my place to judge either. You know, I may have sneaking suspicions, but it's not my place to both judge or intervene. And that's one thing a lot of people don't understand. You may see something, but is it your business to interfere, intervene, or do anything about? Does that apply to your voice, or are you being a busybody? So, as long I follow a very, very simple concept, and this applies to almost everything I do. I believe a person's rights extend infinitely until they overlap with the rights of another, and that's where they stop. And that point is where we get into a lot of trouble, where it is and how we respond to that. Civility and respect fix almost all those problems. And the other thing is there's time and there is actual absorption. A nose ring, for example, you made an interesting point. A nose ring. Let's talk nose rings, facial piercings, and tattoos. I love and respect tattoos as an art form. I do not choose to have any. Now, I have several reasons ranging from the nothing has spoken to me in such a way I feel I need a tattoo, to I like to reserve that space in case it has a tactical necessity in some of the circles I've traveled in. To which I've had a lot of needles and I'm not overly fond of them. No one should ever bully me about tattoos, but I will go, that is beautiful. Like I've had the honor of designing tattoos. I will design tattoos for people. I won't put them in because blood makes me squeamish. To be honest, I've seen too much of my own. Now, on the topic of piercings, I have no aesthetic problem with piercings, especially of the face. Like, if that is a visual you want to do, cool, you're expressing yourself. That being said, I have a tactical situational, and that is from an incident where in my youth, I witnessed a gentleman who had an eyebrow piercing, nose piercings, and ear piercings. And for the nose and ears, they had a chain that ran around. I think there was a dermal here, but it went up here and hooked. So it was all here. Honestly, it was aesthetically unique and beautiful. I could see the aesthetic appeal, even if it's not my shtick. The problem was there was a fight, and I watched a large person of that a portion of that person's face literally ripped off because it was a tactical liability. It was gory, it was fast, and it was ugly. So for me, when I see piercings anywhere, the excessively practical part of my mind, now this is my mind, my assessment, instantly goes, that is both a threat and a I hate to put it this way, but an exploitable weakness if things go bad. I can't help thinking like a bad guy. It is my gift and my curse. I am very good at red team applications. I'm the nicest guy in the world whenever I can be, but I can walk into a place and go, if I was a monster, I would do X, Y, and Z. It's why I'm such a good DM. Uh, but if you want to go get one, good on you, you know? And that's kind of how I feel. A lot of body mods, and I believe as a historian, as a sociologist, at least in that I've studied sociology and I've studied history and psychology, we are in a world where we are going to see within 100 years, definitely within 100 years, barring a major global disaster, World War III, the super volcano, something like that, assuming relative stability, I will expect cosmetic prosthetics to fast become a thing. Cosmetic and tactical. I think we are uh, on a point when I say we're approaching transhumanism. I'm actually writing a story about that right now, where we're going to see people with artificial legs because once they get to where they exactly wetware, augmentations of computers, augmentations of limbs, improved lungs, artificial gills. I'm not going to say the sky's the limit, but it really is. We're going to see a lot of changes, and as soon as the necessary prosthetics improve, basically, I really expect that, and I expect more technological integration. I expect a whole VR and overlay to be a big thing. We're going to get where we either through direct augmentation to the brain, to lenses. Google Glass was ahead of its time, but something like that, or beyond. Like cybernetic eyes, where you get pop-ups for businesses as you walk by in your HUD, And I believe people will rapidly become dependent on that technology. I'll pull that out there. And that's going to change a lot of things. It's going to change combat. It's going to change day-to-day life, exploration. I mean, and yeah, and for those of us with chronic ailments, they're already developing like tattoos. Now, see, one of the tattoos I would consider is it was a development, and I don't know if it's on, of a tattoo that changes changes color with your blood sugar. Wonderful concept. Look at that little what is it? It's a diabetic device that they implant, and you can just scan it instead of having to poke yourself every time to check your blood sugar. And yeah, a new disability will be people who can't handle wetware. And a new first, it will be a social stigma of people who choose not to, and then it will come around to being very fashionable because having limited wetware will be rare. So the less augmentation. Watch it. I mean, that's me. I'm literally in the process of writing a story. I was thinking about this earlier today on that very subject matter, which I'm in trouble with my wife because it's another story I haven't finished yet. That being said, people will judge over that. That's where we have to be careful, Dark Moon. Hitting the gym can be great for mental health if it's there, but you have to have the physicality to do it. A lot of people, especially on this list, have joint damage that in some cases no amount of physical buildup is going to affect. In point of fact, it's very easy to damage. Now, I said be healthy, but talk to your doctor first. Practicing where I preach, as my schedule lines up, because I have to finish this move and some things, I intend to seek occupational and physical therapy for my damages so I can improve, so I can be better for you guys, because my life is not my own. My life and my services belong to those that I help, to my son, to my wife, to the wonderful people who watch these broadcasts, the folks who read my books. So it's go through the doctors first, and then if I get in shape, what I've been on is a 2-beat arc. My first arc is to get in shape enough to start getting in shape. It's a different mentality when you're dealing with physical. Now, I will say this, getting healthy is a great way of controlling yourself. It's a great way of addressing mental issues, but you also, like all things. Oh, no, please don't redact it. For mental health, they have proven weightlifting is incredibly good for mental health. Cardio it's just I have to there's always got to be a caveat that's important. And I absolute faith in your intention, Dark Moon. I really do. And that's part of why we have these conversations. And it's why sometimes I offend people, because I'll go, now let's be careful. Now, the fact that you're willing to take that information and go, wow, I didn't think it that way, speaks volumes to your intellect and to your character. And that's what's important. And they are strands, okay? We weave our lives out of different strands of mental health and physical health and experience and ideas, desires, and that's what we build this complex pattern of tapestry that is our lives. And getting in shape is a wonderful one. We just have to make sure we do it safely. Yep, exactly. Right now I couldn't. To my credit, I can't hold much more than a couple pounds, depending on grip and situation. I astound the doctors by what I do because I'm very careful and adaptive on how I do it. But there's also what works what day. It's like right now there's a big storm coming in again. I'm in a massive amount of spasm and pain right now. That's why you may notice some interesting anybody who watches my show notices a lot of times I will do this cup hand thing. My hands will kind of twinge funny as I'm talking. That's part of working through the pain, and that's part of dealing with it. Now, oh, yes, I know. Sorry. If you heard that beep, that was my 10 o'clock beep to take my nose pill. Nothing to be scared of. Uh, light Tai Chi. There is, look up chair Tai Chi. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but he is a slender African American man, if that helps. And I found his videos at different points to be incredibly helpful if you have uh, limitations. Because when my legs were bad, I could work through some of his stuff. My wife, when she was recovering from a very bad fall that resulted in many, many, many stitches just below her knee, she could sit and do that and still be doing something. Remember, doing anything is lapping the you that sits on the couch and does nothing. We are not a zero sum mentality. You don't have to take from others to make yourself better. Others don't have to take from you to make themselves better. And we don't have to be 100% all in on something to be better than we would do if we did nothing. It's all about finding a reasonable balance. Now, I am getting past my 2 hour mark. I'm going to need to eat this candy bar, and I'm going to need to visit the back of the house in a minute. So I'm going to thank you guys for a delightfully stimulating conversation. If you haven't hit the like, please do. If you can feel it in your hearts to share this on your Facebook, social media, email it to people, whatever. The more eyes that I get in front of my videos, the more people I can help. I want to shout out pretty much the entire list, almost the entire list anyway, are my amazing Patreon members. And you guys, you're what let me do this. So I'm eternally thankful. Keep us surprised on how that vinyl problem goes, Cindy. If you want to support and you haven't, you can snag this. I keep these both pretty much as cheap as Amazon will let me. Because I used elements of color on a few pages, this got up in a bit. But I'm going to be doing more small books like this that are low cost entry level books. People seem to like that. Some game stuff is coming. Look up Luke Stone. He is out. We're doing good. Yes, David Dorian Ross. That's his name. I could not remember it, but seeing it, I remembered. Because the hyphenated trigger. Uh, Chair Tai Chi video. Please look that up if you have mobility issues. Now, again, check with a medical professional first. Um, but like this video, share. You can support me through buying my stuff on Amazon. I also have a whole bunch of sci-fi stuff. The Simple Sword Part 2 eventually will be the Strong Sword, but I need to do some specialized stuff on spear and armoring before I'm comfortable to sit down and do that big volume. So we are getting there, Dark Moon. The framework for the Poor Swordmaster's Guide to Arms and Armor is open to uh, my Patreon members. I actually have, and yeah, and thank you. Small Arms and Eyes to the Sky are two novellas I did in the Big Stompy Robots universe. Uh, I also have some really great stories coming in. Oh, the Back Scratchers video. Back Scratchers video. I know that's on my list. Who Back Scratchers? Back Scratchers. Okay. I will do the Back Scratchers. Okay, Back Scratchers. Okay, so we have some real winners. But I've got some other things coming. So guys, thank you. Please take care of each other and yourselves. Seek medical assistance before you make any big physical changes in your life. That's what doctors are for, if you can afford it. If not, please be very, very careful. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. Keep your guard up, and as always, support your local swordmaster.